This isn't going to be a serious nor critical video where I go at a particular individual or point out certain flaws, but this is going to be more of a constructive criticism, if anything, of one particular group. And it's not a group that I really talked about as of late, or if ever, but I've noticed, and this was a big thing, especially last year, where these two groups, particularly the PUAs and the MGTOWs, were fighting amongst each other. So, for all of you who don't know, PUAs are basically pickup artists, and these guys were big, I'd say about a decade ago, particularly, well, throughout the entire 2000s. So when the internet first launched, a lot of guys started researching and gaining knowledge of what we now call as red pill truths. One of the red pill truths was about women. As a result, since a lot of these guys who previously, prior to the internet, had all this frustration about how to get with women, what kind of guys women want, that sort of thing, those grand debates, what resulted out of that were individuals who actually took the strategies of how to get women and made it for profit. A lot of these guys are known as pickup artists. These were the men who taught other men on how to get women. In many cases, a lot of these guys would teach you truths and facts about women for the most part. However, a lot of these guys took advantage of what was then rarely known knowledge. A lot of these guys would, I mean, it would range. Sometimes you got these guys who just put on lessons, private lessons, to teach individuals 1v1 gaming tactics, as they like to call it. But it got so bad that a lot of these guys ended up just abusing their knowledge and their position, to the point in which they would have seminars that would cost upwards of thousands of dollars, and seminars which a lot of men, particularly a lot of men who were sexually frustrated, were willing to pay for. These seminars consisted of these dating coaches having these sessions and lessons and all these little tactics on how to get women, and doing all this crazy stuff. And as a result, well, not as a result, but the end game would be to send these guys to some of the worst places that you can send a guy who has absolutely no or negative experience when it comes to women, particularly when it comes to seducing women, which would be nightclubs. Look back at my video on what I think about nightclubs, how nightclubs are female casinos, to get the details on why nightclubs are among the worst places to get women. But these PUA coaches, whether intentionally or not, would set a lot of these guys up for failure. And even if these dating coaches didn't have these elaborate, outlandish boot camps in which it would be akin to basic training, you would have these pickup artists write all these books, sell all these DVDs, and all these other lessons on just the most absurd ways on how to deal with the opposite sex. I mean, it got to the point in which dating and picking up artists in game and all this other kind of stuff, all these terms that they use, alpha male, beta male, if you don't pop your collar at least 6 inches and wear freaking step-ups or wear salmon freaking polo all this other stuff. If you don't have the latest wear and the latest tears, if your pants aren't torn 3 inches north of your knee, or you're not alpha, you're beta. If you compliment a woman once, even though she's basically right in your jock, you can't say she's sexy right before you're having sex. Otherwise, you're beta. I mean, these are the steps that I dude master bro, have that can get you success to the point in which you can be having sex with 3 women 4 times a day in the 5th dimension. It's that simple. Just buy my books, buy my DVDs, and after you do that, you got to go to my seminars where we do 3-day courses, 3-day 29-hour courses on how to pick up chicks. And on the 4th and final day, we take you to the most snobbish, most stuck-up club, most expensive club, where you're going to have to stand an hour in line at the very least and pay $50 cover charge. We'll give you 10% off for a bonus for joining my course, and then we send you out there to get torn up by the worst kind of women. That was basically the PUA hustle in a nutshell. If it wasn't seminars, it was DVDs and books. If it wasn't DVDs and books, it was just it was complicated case studies on, well, if a girl wore this shirt and this dress on this night with the moon being up, where you can also see Mars and Jupiter not exactly aligned, but close enough. And if you go to this location instead of that location, and if the mama hen is 20 feet to the right and her best friend is 5 feet to the left, do you buy a drink for her? Do you buy a drink? And what kind of drink? Is it a Jaeger? Is it are shots? Well, Jaegers are shots. Is it freaking? You buy Henny? Do you buy or do you buy PBR? These, and I'm not going to say that all the dating strategy games are just fraudulent and complex, equivalent to that of what you see in a Department of Defense meeting with the Joint Chiefs of Staff planning on if they should go to war with North Korea or Iran or whatnot. But that's what a lot of these dating coaches pushed their strategies to be. Now, I know there are valuable strategies like indicators of interest, like logistics, like self-improvement, like to a certain extent how you dress. Because, I mean, unless you're a white male, dressing like a hipster isn't going to get you anywhere. I'm just saying. But for the most part, the irony is that a lot of these guys who attended these courses were white men. But it got to the point in which it got oversaturated and it got overcomplicated to the extent that a lot of these guys were having no success, at least no more success than they were before. And in some cases, they were having even less success. And it got to the point in which a lot of women figured out the gig on how a lot of these PUA guys are teaching these beta males on how to act, look, and appear alpha, to the point in which you have a lot of these females striking back, whether it's whether it was the sexual harassment on the street stuff, whether it was yes means yes, no means no, no means no. But in reality, we all know that no means no is basically for these beta males. And now we have the Me Too movement, which you have a lot of these men with power who don't have any game. I'm just going to say it. A lot of these guys just weren't. They weren't smooth about their approach. And speaking of, these guys weren't smooth about their approach. These guys were the same guys that probably went to these dating seminars and took the strategies from these dude bro PUA guys of the dick in the box and the masturbating implants, that sort of thing. I wouldn't be surprised if these PUA guys taught some of these guys who are being accused of Me Too or being accused of sexual misconduct in the Me Too movement some of their strategies. I wouldn't be surprised. And as for the rest of these guys, I mean, the frustration has grown to the point in which now a lot of men aren't even dealing with women at all, which makes us go to MGTOW. And before I emphasize on that, I mean, these are the same guys who would tell you approach, but will not tell you on how to be efficient. They'll tell you on numbers matter. It's cold sales, cold calling, cold hollering, and then approaching. But they won't teach you about indicators of interest. They won't teach you about self-improvement. They won't teach you about how you can get women to approach you. They won't. And I think a lot of people figured out the reason why is because these guys are no different than Big Pharma. Big Pharma being the industry that relies more, makes more of a profit when people are sick than when people are healed. A lot of these guys didn't focus on curing, I should say, the problem, but just alleviating it, just covering it, just treating the symptoms. And a lot of these PUA strategies, at best, were just treating symptoms of what these beta males dealt with, which now, to look today, a lot of these guys are now going MGTOW. And we all know how the MGTOW movement, at least on the internet, has, you can say flourished. For anyone who is on the internet, if you ask a random person outside, I'll be honest, 8 times out of 10, if you tell them what PUA and MGTOW are, they wouldn't know what you're talking about. They'd be like, dude, get the hell out of my face. You're a freaking weirdo. But on the internet, on the forums, if you are a person who's on social media, who's on YouTube, or if you're on a place like Reddit or something like that, or especially sites like freaking 4chan. I don't know why you'd be on 4chan for. But you would know what these terms are and these things mean. So the point is this. A lot of these guys, a lot of the MGTOW guys were created from the PUA movement, or the so-called PUA movement. I don't even call it a movement, but the PUA hustle, I should say. A lot of the PUA guys, especially last year, were complaining about how these MGTOW guys were ruining it for them. Well, let's face facts. If it weren't for these PUA guys trying to make a quick buck at the expense of angry beta males, then MGTOW would not have flourished as much. I'll just say that. And we all know now that the conclusion, or now that who's basically won this squabble between PUAs and MGTOWs, which would be the MGTOWs. Now, I'm not a MGTOW by any means. Trust me, I have my issues and constructive criticisms about MGTOW. But we have to give credit where credit is due. The MGTOWs have all but defeated the PUAs. And it's gotten to the point in which now you got a lot of PUAs who are going either TradCon. Now they're teaching. Now they're giving strategies on how to attract quality women and how to attract the wife. Granted, in the West, yeah, even they admit that it's almost impossible. Either that or they're taking the same people who a decade ago were sexually frustrated beta males who were pissed off at women. Now they're turning that into the alt-right business of taking those same sexually frustrated males who have had little, if any, success of women, using the PUA tactics, and now they're basically just riling them up and making them blame, you know, the usual suspects, the immigrants, the Muslims, and Yeah, the Jews. Don't forget about the Jews, and especially the BBC. And I think all of you know what that is. I mean, let's be honest. The Jews are not the alt-right's public enemy number one. Because mainly, if they were, the Jews would have squandered the alt-right a long time ago. And by the way, the reason why I make the Join the Elite series, which there will be one come tomorrow, Christmas Eve, for all of you guys out there who aren't with your families, that's going to be a special one towards you guys. But yeah, quite frankly, the PUAs have done themselves in. Oh yeah, but by the way, by the second example of the alt-right, we all know one Rushfi who's definitely doing that, and props to him for, trying to hustle the alt-right out of their money. We all know what the gig is. But for everyone else out there, take note, take heed, and be aware that the MGTOW movement just didn't pop up organically by itself. It had a lot of help, particularly from the people you expected the least. And everyone else out there, always bet on X.